Welcome everybody to the 2014 CEO Connection Mid-Market Convention here in Philadelphia. The mid-market, so you know, accounts for $10 trillion of the $30 trillion in gross receipts in the United States each year, and 30 million jobs. And up until very recently, there wasn't a lot of attention paid to the mid-market. In fact, oftentimes you'd ask people, you'd hear about small businesses and how they're impacted by laws in the Fortune 500 and how they're impacted, but when you'd ask about the mid-market, people would actually scratch their heads. And so about 9 years ago, we started CEO Connection, which is the only membership organization in the world focused on CEOs of mid-market companies. And our mission is to help them succeed, and we do this by connecting them to each other, connecting them to people, information, and resources to which they otherwise would not have access, and by promoting the interest and the perspective of the mid-market. One of the things we do is this event to promote the perspective of the mid-market, the Davos of the mid-market. The Davos of the mid-market. That's what this is all about. It's to bring together the leadership of the mid-market together with the best and brightest business thinkers and senior government officials to help each other and change the world. And if you look around the room, the talent that we've brought together is truly remarkable. We have the top mid-market CEOs. We have professors from the Wharton School, from the University of Delaware, from the University of Pennsylvania. We have top business executives and experts from KPMG, from MasterCard, from the Siegel Company, from Citizens Bank. We have senior government officials from the state of Tennessee, the state of Pennsylvania, the city of Philadelphia, the U.S. government, and the Canadian Foreign Ministry, all brought together, not just to talk, but to actually accomplish something, to actually take some action. Now, last year, at this convention, a number of things were launched. We have our healthcare committee, which is working on developing and creating a health insurance exchange for the mid-market and adding on top of that some additional benefits like Penn Medicine, which is a concierge service for senior executives, to provide better benefits for mid-market workers. We have our Emerging Markets Committee that is working on creating an infrastructure to help mid-market companies that want to do business in emerging markets, making it easier, sharing information and sharing resources. We have our Social Impact Committee that is working with the Wharton Social Impact Initiative to create a student consulting group that will help mid-market companies that are interested in incorporating social impact into their corporate strategy. We have the Job Creation Committee that is working on developing a program to get mid-market companies to commit to hiring X number of veterans each year. And we have our Education Committee that's working on creating an internship program on college campuses around the country to introduce college students to mid-market companies. That's a tough act to follow for this year. But if you look around the room, we have the talent here to accomplish that and more. And so, your collective goal for this convention is to work together to design programs and come up with ideas that can, from the mid-market perspective, that can benefit the entire community and also offer opportunities to individual mid-market companies. We've created small interactive breakout sessions around different topics so that you can actually get some work done and work together to make this happen. Your individual goals are kind of in line, but we really want you to walk away with at least one connection for yourself, one idea that will help your company, and one collaboration that can help change the world. If you accomplish that, we view this as a success. Jules Verne, I like to throw a quote out here, it seems like I'm intellectual. Jules Verne said, "Anything man can dream, others can create." And we have the experts, the resources, and the people all in one place to do just that and all of that. So go for the ideal, think about the best possible solutions, and we'll figure out how to get the resources to get it done. And we'll change the world. So that's why we're here today. And now I'm going to introduce to you one of the people who's going to help us do that. Said we had the right people in the room. He's one of them. And let me tell you about my friend Michael Nutter. Last year, I introduced him to this group of people as the mayor of New York, which I think was wishful thinking on my part. I'm not quite clear. But he is, in fact, the mayor of Philadelphia. And what he's done with the private and public partnerships that he champions is amazing and is the backbone of what's been accomplished here in Philadelphia. And I can tell you, as an alumnus of the University of Pennsylvania, I was here almost 30 years ago as a student. Philadelphia has changed dramatically, and a lot of it is due to this man and and what he does. And is also, his support is critical to the success of CEO Connection and making this convention the Davos of the mid-market. So it's my pleasure now to introduce to you my friend, the mayor of Philadelphia, Michael Nutter. All right, here we go. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and Ken, thank you very, very much. Always a great pleasure to welcome all of you to New York City, it just thrills me that we've been able to expand at the level of taking in our nearby suburb, the city of Philadelphia. Seriously, welcome to Philadelphia, and certainly to the Inn at Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School, as our partnering sponsors, but also really to Ken and the work that he has done with the CEO Connection and the Mid-Market Convention. We're thrilled to have you back, and it's always quite exciting. I am going to give some remarks with regard to some of the things that we've done here in Philadelphia and how we've done them. Ken was slightly overly generous about all the things that have happened. I've only been mayor a little over 6.5 years, and many of the things that we have done, unlike maybe Boston or Chicago, you can't stay mayor in Philly forever. But I've certainly benefited from many of the things that my predecessors have done, and then we've hopefully put our own mark on some things as well. I think when I talked with you last year, set a little bit of a context for my remarks and the way I look at the city government. You are CEOs of companies of varying sizes, and I consider myself the CEO, of course, of this great city. The city of Philadelphia is 1.5 million shareholders. We have revenues of $7.3 billion when you look at all funds in and all the sectors and divisions and service lines that we provide. 27,000 employees, and what some might refer to as, in the corporate sector, kind of a board of directors, if you will, as the city council, 17 members who help to guide the city. The difference, of course, is the council does not hire the CEO. I had to run for that office. But when you look at the city government as a corporate entity, and increasingly you are seeing more and more mayors around the United States of America really providing leadership in their areas and in their regions. Of course, we don't exist by ourselves. We're a city and a county, the only one in Pennsylvania. But Philadelphia as a county, with our partners nearby, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties, serving as really now southeastern Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has 67 counties. The 5 of us together represent 40% of the economy of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Just to give you some sense of what really is going on just in the southeastern Pennsylvania part, when you add in our friends across the Delaware River in New Jersey and even the top of the state of Delaware, which is really what people consider the tri-state area, now you're talking millions more customers or shareholders, if you will, and that much more in billions of dollars of economic activity. And so that is the perspective that I take. We have to deliver a high-quality service at the lowest possible cost. We are a large service organization. Many of you are in the service business. When we serve our customers well, we increase our market share, and we're fighting for market share every day. Our market has increased, according to the 2010 census, for the first time in 60 years. In the 1950s, Philadelphia had 2.1 million people living in the city, and with deindustrialization and a number of other factors that have taken place in America over a long, long period of time, for all of those years, we pretty much saw a population decline. That trend started reversing in 2007, 2008. In the American national surveys that get taken, we started to see estimates showing that population growth was going in the other direction, up and positive, confirmed in the 2010 census, reaffirmed in 2011, 2012, 2013, and we expect the same for 2014. And there are a series of factors and reasons for that, and I'll talk about those in a second. Again, we're proud to be the host city for this CEO Connections, your annual mid-market convention. We're very pleased and proud to have this meeting here. Of course, because of who you are and what you do, you could be anywhere, and any of those cities would be very, very excited to have you. So I appreciate it. It makes a big, big difference to have you here in the city of Philadelphia. As executives, of course, we all know that what we really do each and every day is solve problems, take on challenges, provide direction, make decisions. And what we call in our own city government, you can fill in what I'm sure you'll know what I mean by this, but we talk about GSD. Now, in public, of course, I talk about that as getting stuff done. And that's what we do on a daily basis. We get stuff done. We make things happen. And increasingly, you're seeing mayors across America and around the world being that individual, acting more as the executives that we really are. You're leaders in your own right. You know that collaboration and coordination is naturally the best way to get things done. We do have these things called systems and bureaucracies, and the folks who oftentimes, sometimes knowingly, sometimes not, really kind of stand in the way of getting stuff done. They think it is their main mission in life to stop every possible idea and proposal and collaborative effort that is the nature of bureaucracy from time to time. In my line of business, we talk about the B team. Maybe you have this in your own organization. Anyone familiar with the B team? Yes, ma'am. You familiar with it? Okay. Well, I don't know what it means in your world, but for us, it's be here when you get here, be here when you leave. And there's a group of folks in the government that they understand you will come for a certain amount of time. You will have all of these ideas. We've heard most of those before. They didn't work 20 years ago, or it's the newest idea on the block, and it is our main focus and job to make sure that that never happens, because then we would have to change what we do to adjust to what you want to do. So this is what happens. You have a big meeting. Folks are sitting around a table. I have this idea. I have a lot of ideas. Fortunately, I have really good people who stop me from promoting most of my ideas, but every now and then one gets through, and they say, Mayor, it's a really great idea. We need to do more research and analysis to figure that out. We're going to come back to you, and we'll get your report on that very soon. Knowing that I'm going to get really busy because other things are going to happen, or I'm going to have another idea next week about whatever it is, and so therefore, we don't really have to do anything about that because he's going to forget about that. 3 months from now, something will ring a bell, and I'll send a memo, send an email and say, hey, what's going on with that thing? We had that meeting. You know you're right. We're getting the last few pieces together on that. We're going to get you that memo very shortly. Another 3 months goes by. What happened with that? We're just about done with that piece of information. You're keeping track? We're 6 months in to a meeting that everyone agreed that this is a really good idea. It is their goal and objective. They would lose their membership in the bureaucracy club of the United States of America if they could not frustrate any idea that you want to do for at least a year. And so these are the kinds of things that we deal with. Folks in silos, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've been doing. Why do we do it that way? Because we've always done it that way, and we have no interest in ever changing what it is that we want to do. So you understand the nature of trying to get things done. And then when you merge, as Ken talked about, the public sector and the private sector, that's a really good one. Because you're used to speed, our goal is objective, in many instances, is to be as slow as possible, because we're always afraid that we either might actually accomplish something, or someone will find out that we've actually broken ground and gone on to a new idea and a new way of getting things done. And so I really do try to drive within the government this idea of change and reform and innovation, being actively engaged, and pay attention to what's going on in the business sector, because I think that when we look at the public sector more in tune with what's going on in the private sector, we will find some opportunities not only for innovation, but also going to the bottom line. See, I actually have to balance, unlike our friends down in Washington, D.C., I actually have to balance a budget every year. It's required by law. I have no printing press. We have what we have. I can't pass a continuing resolution on whether or not I'm going to pick up people's trash today. They actually do expect these things to happen every day. And we don't just do like trash on Mondays, and then we give you a little public safety on Tuesday, and then we're going to give you water service on Wednesday, and some recreation on Thursday, and then if you call, we'll put out a fire on Friday. All of these things go on every day, all day, 24 hours a day. We have facilities that people, if pressed, actually could not find the keys to the front door because they're never locked. They're always open. We're always open for business. And we have a daily expectation by our shareholders that we will provide them good quality service for the taxes that they pay and give them a return on their investment in the city of Philadelphia. And so what have we been doing? Philadelphia is so perfectly situated for business. Think about where we are on the map. So in either direction, in less than 90 minutes, you can be in New York or Washington, D.C. from Philadelphia. Forbes 30 Under 30 is in town right now. It officially started last night with a concert, and then there are a series of programs and activities. Forbes 30 Under 30, which has been going on for decades now, for the first time ever, is actually having a summit. They chose Philadelphia. It's not 30 people under 30. It's 30 people under 30 in 15 different categories. So that's 450 people, and they've been doing it for 3 years. When we announced that we were having this in Philadelphia, Randall Lane, who's the editor-in-chief of Forbes magazine, I met him in New York, left Philadelphia at 30th Street Station, went on Morning Joe show live at an 8:15 hit, and was back in Philadelphia for a 10 a.m. press conference. You can do that. I've gone to New York, down to D.C., and back to Philadelphia in the course of a day, and was home for dinner. So the ease of access into the city, the ability to get around, especially up and down the East Coast, or, of course, from a national or international perspective, and especially with the merger of U.S. Airways and American, we're a hub city for that. And so those airlines, of course, we're serving different markets. With Philadelphia now as a hub, we have much more access to a bunch of other cities across the United States and, of course, around the world. 100 million Americans live within a day's drive of the city of Philadelphia. You're, of course, on the campus of one of our 101 colleges and universities in the tri-state area. We educate about 400,000 young people. We have 5 medical schools in the city of Philadelphia. 1 out of 5 doctors in the United States of America will do some part of his or her training in this city. The number 2 NIH grant recipient entity, of course, is the University of Pennsylvania Hospital. The number 1 in pediatrics is CHOP, which is also the number 1 children's hospital in the world. And so when you talk about business and business opportunity, we've made it much easier to do business in the city of Philadelphia. We've continued to lower our taxes, which we know that's been a challenge for us in the past. But quite frankly, more and more CEOs, as I talk to them, as my team talks to them, what they increasingly are asking about is workforce and workforce development and education. Now, everyone wants to have a conversation, of course, about taxes and tax incentives and all of those things, and we could put a package in front of you that is comparable to just about anywhere else in the country. But our particular focus on education in the K-12 area, where we continue to struggle as a result of some cuts that all of us have experienced from the state, while at the same time the city has stepped up over the past few years and increased our commitment to local education by 42%. In the last 5 years. And so we're continuing to invest in young people here in Philadelphia while, again, supporting a quite robust post-secondary education system here in the city. We've streamlined our tax system as well as what it takes to develop a project in Philadelphia. And so since January of 2013, 200 projects completed, started, or announced, representing $8.5 billion of private sector investment in the city of Philadelphia. And so one of the reasons that Forbes 30 Under 30 is here is because of the explosive growth of millennial population here in the city of Philadelphia. We've had the largest percentage increase of millennial population growth of any major city in the United States of America. And so young people are making their own decisions about where they want to live, and the companies are following that talent to this city, which is why we're having this particular conference, the Forbes 30 Under 30, here in Philadelphia, as they chose the city. This is a city that does big events, and we do them well. We're actively engaged with our business community. We have an Office of Business Services. It's basically what you are probably kind of experiencing here at the hotel. What I've fashioned it is as a concierge kind of service. You call us, you engage with our Commerce Department, you then talk to a business services representative who is going to work with you not only on the current issue that you're focused on. I want to start a business here, I want to grow here, I want to expand, whatever it is that I want to do. But that person really stays with you during the course of your time here. We can do transactions, but quite frankly, I'm much more interested in developing relationships. Relationships last over a period of time, as opposed to, I want to do something, you do this for me, I do this for you. We're flat, we're even, we're good. See you later, have a nice life. We like to stay in touch with our business community. We promote the businesses that are here. We work with them. I've gone to 3 office openings for the same business here in the city of Philadelphia. Started with 5 people in a small shop, expanded very rapidly, went to 25, and now to 50. 3 different offices in the city of Philadelphia because of their growth. And so people say, you know, Mayor, why would you go to an office opening for a business of 5 to 10 folks? Well, because I know that if we treat them well and create the right business environment, that's a company that's going to have 100 people in a year and a half. And we've had any number of those. And so, you know, 5 gets you 10, 10 gets you 20, you know how those numbers go. If you're in the right environment, with the right leadership, and everyone focused on getting stuff done, making things happen, and encouraging the business sector. You know, we have, you know, this is not a political statement, but it is slightly. You know, we have, and this is not just here in Philadelphia, you have folks who love jobs and hate business. You ever run into any of those folks? I mean, they have this weird perspective that, you know, the corporate community, and you're working with these people, and you're giving them breaks, and you're doing all these things. Yes, because I love jobs. Love jobs. When folks are working, you're going to have less crime. When folks are working, you're actually going to improve your economy. When folks are working, I can lower taxes and still have a great base to be able to provide the services that people want and need and deserve for the taxes that they pay. And when folks are working, you have a much better city. And so running this corporation, focused on our goals, getting stuff done, making things happen, is what you do each and every day. And so I want to encourage you, if you've not been to Philadelphia somewhere in the last maybe 3 to 5 years, you'll see a lot of change. Some of that is due to us. I'll take some credit for that. But again, we've built on a foundation of things that have been going on in this city for some time. And all through this time, of course, and in the first part of my time as mayor, naturally we had the Great Recession. And so how do you deal with that? I mean, you know, that was not one in January, the November of 2007, came in office in January 2008. There was not one briefing, there was not one transition memo that mentioned that the country had actually fallen in a recession in December of 2007. I really need to talk to that transition team. No one told me about that. And so as the country came to grips with that, and cities all across America did all kinds of things, we cut salaries, took a salary cut first, because I can't ask people to sacrifice if I'm not willing to do that on my own. Then cut the salaries of every top executive in the city government. Furlough days, cut back in services, raised people's taxes, and gave them less service. There is nothing that you can do that will piss people off more than raising their taxes and giving them less service. I mean, that's a real combo there. We did not lay off one police officer, one firefighter, one sanitation worker, not one health worker or social worker, not a one. It's called a shared sacrifice, and everyone had to put something on the table. And the main goal was, of course, protect public safety, ensure that we're taking care of our vulnerable citizens, do no harm to the fundamental core services of our city government, and really reevaluate. Do we need to continue providing that service? Can someone else do it better? Should we stop doing it? Coming out of that, we're stronger than we were before. The city of Philadelphia today has an A+ rating from Standard & Poor's, which is the highest rating the city government has ever received in history. All three rating agencies have us at A, which we haven't been at since the 1970s. We made a lot of very tough decisions. They were not popular. If you have a deep-seated need to be loved and admired every day, this is not the business for you. And in your companies, you have to make tough decisions every day as well. And so it is really in that context that I try to provide the leadership and the drive and the focus and the direction for this company as you provide the same kind of leadership, focus, and direction and tough decision-making every day for your company. I'm really pleased and honored to be here with you this morning. Cannot tell you how important it is to have this kind of conversation. Your companies really are the backbone of the American economy. You may not be on the front page of the paper every day, you may not get as much highlight, but I know, and many of us in our city government and in our business sector know, that your companies, the multi-million, the early billions of dollars companies, really do make a difference in how we move our cities, our states, and the United States of America forward. And so I thank you for being here in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, our little place we call Philadelphia. Thank you.
You're awesome.
Sure. That's right.
All right, how are we doing so far? We're all right? Yeah, out there? Anything? All right. All right, so another round of applause for the mayor. Come on, that was awesome, really. Oh, look, you're here. That's nice. All right, great. So we're off to a good start here, and I want to, you know, when we mentioned that the game plan is to get stuff done, so I want to kick things off now, all right, and announce that we are launching the official corporate credit card for the mid-market. We designed it with MasterCard and with Comdata. It's designed specifically to give mid-market companies the same benefits and services that are normally just available to Fortune 500 companies. And we're able to do that with our friends at MasterCard and Comdata because of the collective power of the mid-market. And the other really cool thing about this is that a percentage of each purchase that's done with this corporate credit card collectively will go towards a CEO Connections Social Impact Investment Fund, so we can have an impact on changing the world in another way, too. So really excited about that. Is that good? Now look, all right, see, Erica likes that. Anybody else? Nothing. All right, all right. Thank you. All right, so very exciting. And now, I mean, if you really think about this, so it's we're services specifically designed for the mid-market. That's great, right? Access to people, information, and resources to which you otherwise would not have access. Well, that's outstanding. And working together with CEOs and MasterCard to help change the world, that's priceless. And that's my way of introducing this man over here, the head of innovation for MasterCard Labs, John Sheldon. John?
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
All right, great. All right, we're showing and everything. Thank you. Sorry, it was just a lot of toys to go through up here. So It's really fun to be here with you. I'm excited to be here because I'm also an alumnus of Wharton, so it's great to see all the amazing work that Mayor Nutter and his predecessors have done. Philadelphia has completely changed since I was here in a very, very positive way. So I congratulated him on his way out because it's very impressive what they've done. So innovation's a scary, weird word that everybody tries to use all the time. I hate having it in my title. But MasterCard Labs is a unit inside of MasterCard. Let me just take a second to talk a little bit about what MasterCard is. MasterCard, we all have that piece of plastic in our pocket with the two circles that interlock. But what MasterCard really is a technology company. We're a technology company that provides the rails that connect the dots for these transactions. So we work with partner banks, financial institutions, but we're not a financial institution. We're actually a technology company. And what's happening in our industry, and is happening, of course, in many of your industries, is there is a ton of change going on. Consumers have taken over the control of the relationship, and there are tons and tons of different impacts that are changing our relationship with our partner banks. They're changing consumers' relationships with our brand, and then frankly, changing the way we pay. And so all of these things require us as a company to evolve, to keep up with these changes. But what's interesting about that is who wants their credit card rails technology company that ties all these transactions together to take all the risks associated with trying lots of things and failing and all that? Nobody, right? MasterCard's reputation is built on 50 years of making sure that when you swipe the card, transaction goes through. So how do we go about changing, evolving, trying things, testing? Well, we created this thing we call MasterCard Labs. And the intention of MasterCard Labs is for us to have a forum, have a group of folks whose entire job it is to see what's going on 3 to 5 years out and then make that happen. Be there, be the disruptor for our own business before somebody else is. And it's comprised really of 5 key areas that we talk about. The first is innovation management, which is a group I run, and that's the intent of that group is to gather all of the ideas from inside and outside the company, evaluate them, decide if we want to move them forward to commercialization. Obviously, a lot of those ideas are technology-based. So we have a technology team of R&D experts, some of whom we don't let into the light of day because they're the fun kind of technology guys like that. But they're spectacular at coming up with net new ways to tie technology together to create spectacular consumer experiences. Once we decide to commercialize, ideas move into an area we call incubation. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But we also realize 2 other things. The first is we're not the sole keepers of all great ideas, and that startup companies are happening all the time looking to disrupt our business, but also to work with our business to kind of grow and evolve and meet these changing consumer needs. So we are doing about 7 different approaches to working with startup companies. Everything from participating in a Techstars portfolio to cohabitating, where we've invited 7 startup companies into our offices in Dublin, Ireland, to live with us and be a part of our organization more completely, just to find out what's the right way for our organization to engage with the startup community. And finally, I give this presentation a lot to our member banks and to some of the merchants that we work with, and occasionally they say to us, hey, you guys are doing that a little bit better than we are. Can you help us innovate the way you do? And so we actually launched this year this idea of labs as a service. So we actually, on a consulting basis, work with companies to help them innovate the way that we do. I'll talk a little bit more about how we innovate throughout this talk. But we talk about this bottom phrase all the time. We need to take risks. We need to try things. And inevitably, we're going to fail. So when we fail, we need to fail smart. What I mean by failing smart is not just the traditional fail fast. It's very important. Fail cheap. Sounds like a good idea. But there's a huge part of making sure that we learn the lesson and propagate that lesson as to why something failed throughout the entirety of MasterCard so that we don't repeat that failure going forward. And that's really at the center of what we call failing smart. So we have a few labs across the globe. St. Louis and Purchase, New York, being those in the United States, and Latin America is served out of Miami. And obviously we have Asia, and Dublin covers Europe. So we're building out these labs across the world, but they are actually global labs. So Dublin might be working on something for South America, and Singapore might be working on something for Africa. In fact, they are working on something for Africa. So there's any number of places in the world where we think innovation can happen. And that diversity of thinking that happens geographically and otherwise is really important to the way that we innovate. Only about 20% of the employees inside of MasterCard Labs come from the payments industry. The intent is to bring outside thinking into the traditional payments industry so that we make sure that whatever we're working on isn't hampered by that we've already tried that, somebody failed, all of those ways you can kill ideas. We're looking for that fresh thinking to come to bear. In the process over the last 4.5 years, through the different programs that we've had, we've created about 450 different prototypes and innovations, pilot programs, et cetera, each one of them with a little brand and a business case and so on. Only 4 of them have actually made it to what we call the level of incubation, but the intent is to help build on those ideas so we make sure we're bringing out the best. So one piece, this is Ajay Banga, our CEO, one piece of the success of MasterCard Labs inside of MasterCard has been, I'm not just kissing up to him, I promise. You'll see why. You'll see that that's true in a second. Is we've had tremendous support from our CEO. Our budget reports up into Ajay. He protects it from all of the political forces that would like to grab a hold of something moving fast, like that happens in labs, and try to slow it down, like Mayor Nutter was just saying. And he's incredibly protective of the organization. Now, we had an article in Fortune magazine about how MasterCard became a tech company, and this is my favorite quote from it. He said, I told him, Gary Lyons, my boss, the Chief Innovation Officer, here's the money, knock yourself out. Waste it, buy booze if you like, I don't care. But if you don't give me stuff to launch, I'll fire you all. So that's the kind of support we have. No, he's an incredible supporter of it. He said this with tongue in cheek, but the intent is without that support, innovation in your companies, it doesn't have the same level of chance of success. It's that top-down drive and ownership of the innovation agenda from our CEO that is so important. So we believe in this concept that innovation is a repeatable process. If you read the book Good to Great, he talks about this concept of discipline and building a muscle, right? You are what you repeatedly do. I think that's Aristotle. We believe in this concept of creating repeatable processes for innovation. And we've developed a set of programs from Aspire. I'm going to take you through some of these programs today to involve that allow us to actually go through the process of gathering the ideas within the organization, evaluating those ideas, and deciding what we want to move to the next step. And so those programs range from very simple platform where people can post open-ended questions and get responses, and a handful of other asynchronous programs like that, where the idea is posted and people at their own time can go ahead and slot in solutions, to events like Innovation Time, events like Launchpad, and events like Innovation Express, where we expect and bring employees to a specific location for the purposes of having them generate ideas right now. We're making space for those ideas. And so I'm going to take you through some of these programs and the impact that they can have on the organization. So the first one is Aspire. We're using the Bright Ideas platform. It doesn't matter. There's 10 software players out there that you can use for this. Aspire is the place where anybody in the company, not just labs, the totality of MasterCard globally, can post a challenge and a reward and seek the insights of someone else somewhere else in the company. And so these challenges happen all the time. We actually had 2 posted in the last week, and people invest their own time to help respond to these things. And so a person in Singapore can actually say, oh, I've already solved that problem that you're having in Brazil right now. And they can come together, share their ideas, share presentations, share technologies, and to solve those problems. Aspire is a really nice platform for us to do that. The second big platform that we have is called Involve. Involve takes 4 to 6 months to execute, depending on where you start the clock. But the whole point is, we're looking for the biggest ideas people have, the most divergent from our core business today, where the biggest opportunities are, and guess what? We're going to give you a big reward. We had unbelievable participation in this event. I'm going to share with you a quick video that gives you an overview of our Involve event. I think you'll get a sense for what we're after.
It started with ambition, the ambition to drive history. It continued with ideas, innovation, ingenuity, with the need and the desire to affect commerce and the progress of civilization. We needed people. 633 hands raised up from 30 different countries. What was the goal? To change the course of MasterCard's story. We needed ideas, big ideas, that would generate significant revenue from MasterCard. We came through with 281 of them. We started brainstorming. We kept the innovation, kept the ingenuity, kept the drive. We missed the mark a couple of times, so we narrowed it down to 60 teams and 60 executive sponsors who believed in these teams. Time for development. We put in days, nights, weekends, all on our own time. Went back to the drawing board, cut it down some more. To 6 from 281, we came, we saw, we voted, and we pushed 2 teams forward. We gave them potential to be a part of the future, but we aren't done yet. Time for actuality. Time to bring something to the market. Time to make these ideas a part of MasterCard's progress, of its story. Innovation made real. Involve.
So Involve was a great contest that we did, and the 2 winning teams, there were members of those teams who changed their jobs directly as a result of having gotten through to the final. The leader of up front, the winner, the next day we basically started the transition plan where he was going to be the incubation executive officer, the person whose job it is to take that idea and move it forward. We had to create the transition plan for his previous job because he was pretty good at that too. So this idea that you can change your own direction and be an intrapreneur inside of a company like MasterCard. Involve is really a huge part of that for us. I mean, we wrote some pretty significant 6-figure checks as a result of the Involve program to help get that activation amongst our employees. But the truth is, the employees care, everybody cares about the money, but you would be stunned at how often I'm asked about the progress of the different players inside of the Involve program, right? They put themselves out in front of the entire company on a global broadcast, and the whole company voted on the winner. I was worried about this, but we ended up trusting them to make the choices, and they picked the best 2. And but people feel invested in those companies personally just because they voted on them. Like, I like that one. Where is it? How's it going? And so there's a lot of support for each of these little incubations as they get going inside of our organization. So trusting your employees, getting them involved in the process can be really essential. So Innovation Express is a different kind of event. Involve is kind of asynchronous, happens over 4 months. But by the way, all in employees' spare time. Innovation Express is the opposite. We grab the brightest minds, the people who raise their hands, the people who are looking to change their career trajectory, and we take them somewhere, Reykjavik, Istanbul, New York City, and squirrel them away for 48 hours. It's 48 hours where they're expected to produce an idea from beginning to end. And in that, they need to develop a prototype of that idea, a business plan for that idea, including a go-to-market strategy, and a video demo. Now, it's funny. Everybody thinks the prototype's the most important thing that comes out of these events. It's not true. It's actually the video demo that gets played dozens and dozens of times internally after the event, because not everybody can install a prototype, but everybody can watch a video that shows you the overview. So if you guys end up doing anything like this, never underestimate the importance of this concept of creating a video demo. And so these folks, they get locked into a room with a specific brief, solve this problem, and each team competes against the other. And at the end of the 48 hours, there's a presentation to senior executives. For many of them, it's the first time they've ever had a chance to present in front of this level of executive. And so it's a big opportunity for the employees, and they get really fired up about it. And man, did they perform. But we don't not only do this Innovation Express event, with internal employees, but we actually do it with other universities. Now, as a Wharton grad, this, the fact that we did one with Cornell, it breaks my heart. But I'm going to share with you the video that my wife went to Cornell, so it's not so bad. But I'll share the video from when we did this Innovation Express with the students at the Johnson School at Cornell. And you can't believe how quickly the students can produce something truly meaningful. It all is about doing, not talking, right? It's not about, let's do a deck and the research to get somewhere. It's about making something and having it look real. And so this is from the Cornell event.
In April 2014, MasterCard collaborated with the Johnson School of Cornell University to host Innovation Express.
It's a mashup of a hackathon along with a business case competition for the purposes of showing a truly viable business by the end of the weekend.
MasterCard Innovation Express is the opportunity for the students to literally be elbow to elbow with the MasterCard professionals.
What these teams turn around over the course of 48 hours is really complete solutions, from a functioning prototype, a video demo, a fully thought through business and go-to-market plan.
We are the winners. Yeah, we're gonna win. I think we're gonna win first of all.
I hope they all perform so well we get to make all of these things.
That's the question we need to figure out.
They're going to be asking for a Red Bull.
We need a little coffee. I'm at 10:30. We're just starting, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long night.
Let's look at the problem. I'm millennial today. What's it that I do? I found it almost impossible to track donation.
The power of word of mouth.
Mobile payments are going to be the future. Is a word that I just learned this weekend. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out.
And can you also talk about what a merchant would have to do?
For us, it's about the students learning and taking what they've been learning in class and really applying it and learning about how does this stuff really work.
Great meeting you guys. Great working with you. Thanks for the lesson.
Literally, two of the ideas of the four teams are still in evaluation. We're driving them forward for the concept of incubation. So even when you work with students, it's amazing what they can produce. So again, not all great ideas have to come from inside our four walls. So one of the incubations that we created that came out of an Innovation Express is a tool at MasterCard we call Quicker. And so what we try to do with the outputs of these events is start with something very simple and basic, but then extend it and elevate it up and see if we can try to create what's called a true platform for these ideas. Quicker started as the idea of being able to go to a sporting event, have a little QR code, that's why it's got the QR in there, blink the QR code, it says this is the seat that I'm sitting at, and be able to order food and have it brought to your seat. Actually, we're doing this at Yankee Stadium right now in 11 sections. And we've done it with the All Blacks and a handful of other places around the world, Justin Timberlake concerts, so on. But that's just the beginning of what we had there. We recognized that we had this broader commerce platform that allowed us to do so much more when you consider the idea of order ahead. So with Quicker, I'm going to switch over and do a quick demo for you. What we quickly found with a partner in Australia, we talked about Australia yesterday at the event, what we quickly found in Australia was we had a partner who was interested in saying, you know a place that cash doesn't belong, where we need to get away from handing our children cash? Schools. So there's no reason for you to be giving your children cash to go to school and buy lunch every day. And so what we did was we worked with Commonwealth Bank of Australia to install the capability to order school lunches for students. And so I'm just going to do a quick demo for you of the Quicker Primary School app that we have. You can go in and go into the canteen. These are my two daughters here, Emma and Alexa. I could say, Emma, what are you going to have on Wednesday the 22nd? We can pick, of course, it's Australia, so we have to have Vegemite and cheese. I like that toasted like a good Australian, right? And additionally, I can help them get healthy foods instead of what they'll order if I just give them the cash. Like carrot sticks, and actually go through this process and check out. And I've got my card already in here because of I've set up my MasterPass wallet. And so you can go through the whole order process and make sure that your children are getting the food you want them to have. Now, why is ordering children's lunches a big deal for MasterCard? Well, it's nice, and we have videos of moms and dads talking about how their favorite time of the week is cuddling up with their 8-year-old on Sunday night and picking the week's worth of lunches. But for us, Quicker and the school idea is much bigger than that. What it really is about for us is we're teaching a generation of parents how to use the mobile device as a payment device. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the fact that Apple Pay is coming out, is being released to the public today. This concept of the mobile wallet is just beginning. We're placing lots of bets, MasterPass, Apple Pay, and many, many more. But we're teaching a generation in Australia how to do that with something that is necessary, it's for their children, and repeated frequently. I always think about it like, why did Microsoft put Solitaire in Windows 3.1? Well, they needed to teach people how to use a mouse. Same thing. So this platform of Quicker becomes a huge opportunity for us to continue to expand how we teach people how to use different devices to pay in this new world. So I'm going to switch back to the presentation, please. No, I'm not. I lied. So the second place we figured we could do with Quicker is this other area. I don't know how many of you own restaurants or fast casual restaurants, but one of the things that we found is from the moment that you want to leave to the moment you can leave at a restaurant because you finished paying and all that interchange, here's my card, please disappear with it behind where I can't see you, all of those different activities is 11 minutes. 11 minutes where you're not adding any more revenue, your customer experience is going downhill, right? And this is a lost opportunity for restaurants. So we're partnering with Wagamama in the UK to roll out this concept of pay at table. Again, same platform, but we're trying it with in a different environment. So I'm going to get out of here, and you can go into an environment where you're doing pay at table. I might have opened the wrong app. Give me a second. So I can actually go into a Wagamama, right? And when I sit down, I'm going to host a table. My hostess comes over, or server comes over. I give them this number. They can go right over to their micro system, which runs many restaurants. Type that number in and associate my order directly with the table, right? The moment I want to leave, I just pull out my phone, say that my bill is ready, has everything that I ordered on there. I could say, oh no, I didn't order that chicken ramen, that was my buddy. They can join my table, pay for what they had, so no more splitting the bill evenly, right? Again, all the challenges that you have when you go to lunch with multiple people, and then all I have to do is pay, and I leave. Right? Boom. Thank you. I can get up and leave now. What's funny is, as we've been testing that, we've learned a few things, right? There's nothing servers get more anxiety about than when a table of people, they don't know if they paid or not, get up and leave. So we've added to this experience, and we're arming some of those servers, believe it or not, with Google Glass, so that they get little notifications when different tables are leaving. Again, we're just playing with different technologies here to try to improve the experience. Wagamama thinks that they can get somewhere between 2 and 3 extra table turns a night as a result, a day I should say, as a result of allowing and enabling pay at table. So obviously you can see how much of an impact this kind of innovation can have on their environment. All right, now if you don't mind, I'd like to switch back to the presentation. Thank you. So one of the important pieces as you go through these different innovation events, whether they be the ones that are asynchronous or the specific event activities, is it's good to start them with an important thesis, a thesis for your company that you want to understand and experiment further. One of those theses that we spend the most time thinking about inside of MasterCard is this idea that in a world where Cisco believes there'll be somewhere between 50 and 70 billion internet-connected devices by 2020, we believe that there's an opportunity for every device to become a commerce device. And so in multiple of our events, we're exploring this very specific thesis and asking people to say, if we believe that this is true, what does that mean? What would be a new business? How would that impact something that you're doing every day? So our employees came in one weekend on their own time and said, we have an idea. Can you get us a vending machine? We're going to turn it into an internet-connected device that can do things. This is a result of what they did in one weekend. Again, using that Quicker platform. This isn't the highest production value video. So it connected that vending machine so that you can order from anywhere you are. But why stop with a mobile device? You can change cards, of course.
Okay, glass, vend, water.
So one of the things I love about this is a great example of when you start down a path with innovation, keep going, right? We could have stopped with the mobile phone, but they just kept exploring. Now, do I really believe that consumers are going to walk around and say, okay, glass, vend water? I don't know about that. But the key point is we're playing with ideas to see how is commerce going to change in the future. You know, when we all have stickers in behind our ear that are listening to us all day long, maybe that is how we'll do things. I don't know. But what we want to do is make sure that we're exploring those new consumer experiences. But again, to back up, this is the kind of thing that a handful of folks in our Dublin office held hands and said, hey, you know what we'd like to try this weekend? Let's do it. Who has time? Let's go in. Let's go hack a vending machine to see what we can do. I talked about this concept of every device can be a commerce device. And it's not just, a handful of people coming in and hacking a vending machine, but the possibility that whole businesses can be changed as a result of moving to a cashless society, internet-connected devices, and so on. Whirlpool, the Maytag commercial laundry division of Whirlpool, came to us and said, I don't know if you've been to a commercial laundry facility, a laundromat lately, but the payment part of the process really stinks. Can you help us? Can you help us? So what we did is an event we call a Launchpad. We took a handful of engineers and designers from MasterCard, took 3 people from Whirlpool. We locked ourselves in a room actually right across the river in Cherry Hill for a week, which is where one of their partners was. And the intent was to fix this problem. Originally, the brief for this, what you'll see, was help create the Domino's pizza tracker for the laundromat. That was the brief. But we went much, much further. Let me do one more video for you here. I promise not, I'll slow the videos down. But this is what happened in the week.
Laundry is always a problem.
I love how we call her an enthusiast.
My old job, I keep extra quarters in. Right now I'm down to 2.
So this is an old washing machine from the 1930s. While the product has advanced, the technology, costs and solutions, one thing that really hasn't advanced is around payments. Customers like Katie we see all the time that have these types of problems. Pretty painful process. Bill changers don't work. You got to have the right type of bill. So this week we're meeting a consumer need around making the entire laundry process easier.
Launchpad is a 5-day sprint where we put people from 2 organizations into the room together to produce a working prototype, a business plan, and a pitch video for an idea that we start and end in the week.
With Connect 360, we now have the platform in place for connectivity. And so for the first time ever, we're able to resolve this problem with mobile payments.
So what we needed is a way to work on a computer and then also talk to something like a laundry machine. We had a lot of fun working on the Machine Hack 3. We really upped the ante on this one. We had a whole bunch of systems that needed to talk together. We had a custom mobile application that needs to talk to Quicker, that needs to talk to Simplify Commerce to get.
That's another incubation of ours.
It needs to talk to the Connect 360 platform in order to actually, at the end of the day, make the machine spin.
Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's actually a really high compliment, by the way. This is what we built.
Commercial laundry. Make doing and paying for laundry easy. Here's how it works.
This is what the pitch video looks like coming out of this
Launder
event.
helps you locate available machines near you. No cash required. Payments are quick and easy. Pay with any debit or credit card. Get alerts when your laundry is complete. So now you can tackle more important things. You can even get rewarded for your loyalty. And there are many more benefits. No more quarters, no more waiting. Launder. Make doing and paying for laundry easy. Download for free in the iTunes App Store today.
Not quite today yet, but it will be soon. So what's really interesting about this is we did this event 8 weeks ago. We're going to pilot on 1,000 machines in the next 3 weeks, and we've already announced to their route operators, who are the people who are their channel for purchasing, that this product is rolling out next year. So you can go from a week event where you lock people in a room until the white smoke comes out of the chimney to a commercialized product in a space like this in a very, very short time frame. And if you think about these route operators, again, I learned a lot about this business in the week. The largest route operators own over 1 million machines. Now, the route operators in this world, they're called route operators because they have dozens of people whose entire job it is to go out and collect. They go on a route and collect quarters in each of these locations and fix the machines and other things. I mean, their business is going to be completely transformed as a result of this. When we announced this at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland about 3 weeks ago, there was a lot of stunned looks, and we're like, uh-oh, I didn't see this coming. And then half of them said, well, it's about time. I still didn't see it coming. So there's a great opportunity to transform businesses if we think about them with these different theses, like the idea that every device could be a commerce device. And so we've actually created another platform that we utilize called Shop This, specifically for the concept of connected devices. Shop This was also a result of an Innovation Express. Believe it or not, it came in 3rd out of the 4 for the weekend. But we kept working on it because we knew there was a seed of a good idea in there. Now, it started as a concept where digital publishers were coming to us saying, the biggest problem we have with digital advertising is if it's successful, it takes people away from us and our content. And I don't like that. Can you keep us in context? And so Shop This is an in-context purchasing engine, which now will be able to power these connected devices. What I'd love to do is show you, one of the use cases for Shop This on the device. So if you guys want to swap over here. We did this in conjunction with Wired Magazine. I should plug it in first so you can see. So I can go into my Wired magazine here, right? This is your digital edition, and I can flip through it. And as I come across items that I want to buy, let me come across some of those items. Like this teapot, there's a little Shop This symbol. I can click on that, and it pops up a little in-context window where I can actually go out and buy things. Wi-Fi's a little slow. Okay, so I can add that to my cart. And by the way, what's interesting about this is this cart can be multi-vendor. So I'm buying this one from, I believe, Rakuten. We can implement Walmart or Nordstrom or any other number of different carts, and we'll distribute that order coming out of it. So again, same way that your refrigerator, which we're using this platform to power a refrigerator, can say, okay, you need milk and veggies, and they can actually come from different grocery stores. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my password. I'm sure you were, I'm sorry?
You want to tell us your password?
No, I just showed it on the screen. It's password. I was at it's a demo. I was at a security conference and I typed in the password as password. The place nearly erupted into chaos. Perfect, and I can go ahead and place that order. And what happens when you're done with the order, you can just, you're right back in the original context. And, of course, now all that tracking's been put in place for the publisher. So it started with the digital edition. We can swap back now. It started with the digital edition of Wired Magazine, but again, this concept of keep going, right? We quickly said, well, how do we flip the script and be able to use the physical magazine? So we created a version where we call it in-print, where it goes over top of the physical magazine and scans the page and allows you to do the same kind of checkout. And of course, in the interest of continuing to go on into infinity, we also hooked it up to Google Glass. So you could be reading the magazine and say, okay, Glass, shop this, and it'll scan the page, put it in your cart, and you can purchase it, which terrified my wife when I demoed it. She said, never bring that in the house again. But nonetheless, all these innovations are things that MasterCard is trying to do and continue to evolve to help us get ahead of how consumers are going to be buying in the future. So back to the concept of these different theses. As you can imagine, as we're creating all of these different experiences, the idea of being able to identify yourself, authentication specifically, confirming that you are who you say you are, becomes really, really important. And so obviously we're playing with facial recognition, we're playing with voice recognition. But one of the things that I get most excited about is this concept of a company that we've been partnering with out of Toronto called BioNim, and they have a device called the Nimi. I'm wearing a prototype of it right now. And believe it or not, what this does is it creates a unique identification for you based on the electrical impulses of your heart, similar to an EKG or an ECG. In the United States. And while it's still connected to my wrist, it's able to tell the world around me that it can confirm that I am who I say I am. So that when I go over to a car door and I open it, it will unlock for me automatically. If I go to the liquor cabinet that's locked, it'll say, no, I know this guy is 18. Right? And as long as I don't pull this away from my wrist and break the connection, it'll actually persistently identify me to the world. Now, in labs, we get really fired up about this kind of idea because our belief is about 5 years from now, this is going to be how people are going to authenticate themselves to the world. For an exercise for yourself for the rest of the day, think about how many times you have to authenticate yourself to the universe. Your hotel door, logging into your computer, all these other things. That part of the process is going to move to the background. And so we're playing with lots of ideas around what happens in a world of persistent authentication. So anyway, that's yet another territory that is really fun to talk about. So once we have all of these ideas, how do we decide what we're going to go do about them? Well, we have a process that's got a really hideously ugly chart that I'm going to walk you through right now. So the intent is to get those ideas through a process that, and we take it to an innovation council. And the questions that we ask ourselves at the innovation council is it disruptive and strategically important? Is it a potential large-scale opportunity? Does it have a lot of unknowns connected to it? That's why Labs wants to get involved. We want to play where there's a lot of unknowns. If everything's pretty much all figured out and we're just putting the puzzle pieces together, that's something we'll actually challenge the core business at MasterCard to take on. And then finally, is there an imperative to move quickly, like there was with the commercial laundry? So said slightly differently, here's the way I think about it. There's a 50-year-old model from 3M that I think is a really good one. Is it real? Is it worthwhile? Can we, in our case, can we at MasterCard, can we win if we do it? And that really is at the center of how we make decisions to move ideas forward. But when we do that, we actually treat them exactly like a venture capital funded startup. They come to this innovation council, we identify what we call an IEO. Eventually we're going to start calling it an EIEIO, I know we are. But it's an IEO, the Incubation Executive Officer. They're the CEO of this idea. These are some of the best and brightest people throughout MasterCard that we task with the ideas of bringing these things to market. And we have them come to this Innovation Council, ask for funding, create the benchmarks that they know they need to hit before we continue to move forward. Because ultimately, we need to make a decision. And that decision is, do we kill it? Do we integrate it into MasterCard for MasterCard level scale? Or should we spin it out? I mean, imagine this conversation. Hey, we've invented something, partner. We don't think it's right for us, but it might be right for you. Would you consider taking it on? Right? Changes the dynamic of a partner conversation as well. So, ultimately, we're trying to decide the fate of these ideas and how they move forward. We're all excited internally right now because we've had our first idea graduate back into the business as part of the integrating the MasterCard for scale. Most of our ideas are sitting in the are trying to develop operational scale pieces today. But we've just graduated Simplify Commerce back into the core business, which is a really important accomplishment for us in Labs. How do we manage the process of pumping out multiple little startup companies? Well, the first thing we did was we had this idea of, hey, we're going to have to build lots of different ships, send out the fleet in order for us to continue to stay ahead. And so we glommed on to this concept of the shipyard. Right? And the shipyard is where we keep all of the infrastructure and governance that every company needs, right? The servers and the HR and the legal who can work with startups instead of the legal who works with MasterCard, and so on. We put that in one place. And so as a new idea comes to incubation, we put it in the shipyard. There's a built-in set of infrastructure already there for it to utilize so that they can focus on their core business, which is getting that idea to operational scale. And so the boats really do act like independent startups. I mentioned before that our key ideal is to take any one of these ideas and elevate them up right from I'd like to order hot dog and beer in Yankee Stadium into a much bigger platform that we can then leverage in a number of different ways. And so one way we've extended it, and a very important way that you guys in the room here, your businesses can interact with us, is through our Open API program, where we've opened up big pieces of MasterCard to allow companies of any size to be able to integrate directly into several of the incubations and ideas that we've built out, and a lot of pieces that are actually core MasterCard as well. So if you ever want to go to the MasterCard Developer Zone, you can find all the different pieces of data and ways of interacting with MasterCard that your businesses can look to integrate with us. So that's a really great place to start when you think, hey, this MasterCard thing seems interesting. I wonder how I could work with them. This is a nice place to start. One last really, really important piece. We want to make more money for our company. We want to extend the life of MasterCard. But there's also a huge responsibility, being a company that's in 220 countries. And so one thing we really work hard to do is also use our innovation muscle to create social benefit. We were talking about social benefit before. One area that we've done that, as an example, is we've worked with the South African Social Security Administration to transform a highly fraudulent, very manual and painful disbursement of benefits to their citizenry into something that is biometrically secured and prevents the high costs of cash theft, et cetera. And so 22 million South Africans now receive their benefits via a thumbprint biometrically secured card. So the fraud went from 25% to 0 overnight. But the secondary benefit of this was 5 million of those people went from being excluded from the financial system to being financially included. 5 million. That's a huge opportunity to help a set of people that were underprivileged because of their lack of participation in the financial system. This is Tilly in the picture here, and we actually interviewed Tilly about this. And we're talking about what this card means for her. And frankly, surprised us. We asked her to show us the card. She didn't want to show it to us, but she actually had it kind of tucked into her shirt. It was very personal for her. And you can imagine in a world like South Africa, where she's been, outside the system for a big part of her life, she got very emotional about this card. She said, "This is the first time the government's recognized me as a person." And it's really powerful stuff. So you get this great opportunity to do well by doing good when you're bringing interesting innovations to the market. So this is a room full of mid-market CEOs. What can you do to help enable innovation inside your organizations? I want to break it down to these 6 pieces. 1, you need to own the innovation agenda at your organizations. Without your top-down support, vigorous support, fending people off from stealing from that budget, everything, it's not going to have the same level of success. What you'll likely have is a bunch of really interesting PowerPoint decks instead of meaningful results. The second piece is focus your organization on building that muscle, building that discipline. Find highly repeatable processes for your organization to lean into, right? They don't have to be exactly the same ones that we do. You create your own, but the point is do them and continue to make them better, but build that muscle. Number 3, make space for isolation and focus. That idea with Innovation Express and also with Launchpad of taking people away from their day jobs, blocking out the rest of the world and saying, today, now, we have this very high expectation of you. We need you to focus and make it happen. I cannot believe the results that we get as a result of doing that. And so, again, as the leader here, it's your job to basically enable and allow for that space to be made to allow the results to happen. 4th, trust your employees. They will surprise you. We were very concerned about letting them vote on the Involve final. They literally came in 1 through 6 the way we had hoped that they would. But the involvement that they got from having voted was so much more important than us just saying, these guys were the winner. So trust your employees. They also know. They want the same things you do for your company. They want the growth. 5th, try a lot of things but fail smart. Place a lot of bets. Place a lot of small bets. Right? And you'd be amazed at how quickly they start to develop into real businesses. But again, fail smart, fast, cheap, and when you learn something, make sure everybody in your organization knows what you've learned. And finally, there is always a great opportunity for your businesses to do well by doing good. Right? So look for opportunities to innovate in a way that benefits the less privileged in our society, and that could be some of the greatest opportunities for the future of your businesses. Okay? All right. Let's just wrap it up by saying thank you very, very much for having me at this event. The mid-market is actually really important to us at MasterCard. Many of the innovations that we build are actually targeted at the mid-market because it's so important to our business. The world is changing. It's changing for payments. It's changing for commerce. And of course, it's affecting the way your business is just as much as it's affecting ours. And you, as the CEOs, the leaders of your businesses, you need to own that change and that need for leadership in your organization. So please take the mantle that's being given you and drive it home. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you. Okay. Here we are. It's time for us to innovate now. It's time for us to break out, go into our sessions, and start coming up with things that can impact all of us collectively, our community, and our companies as individuals. Before we do that, I want to bring George up here, and he's going to tell us the framework and how we're going to get things done. George, you ready? George is ready. So here comes George. Let's give George a round of applause. We like George. Come on, George. Oh, he's not coming. I'm supposed to stretch now. I'm stretching, and I'm done. All right, well done.
You're only good if the technology works. All right, that was lovely. So, hands up. Who's mad? Well, that didn't work. How about this? Who wants to be mad? Well, let me tell you what MAD means. MAD is, of course, an acronym for making a difference. So let me ask the question again. Who wants to be mad? All right, this is better. So the breakouts, as Kenny said, these are breakouts about action. They're about making a difference. And we have actually structured all of them the same way, 3 parts. First part is about ideas. And we've asked the panelists to share some ideas. That will be, I don't know, maybe a third of each breakout. The second part is about connections. It's about having conversations. It's about having discussions. It's about building on the ideas, so that's call it a third of it. And then the final third is about impact. So we're going to be asking each breakout to get mad, to get to the actions that Kenny described that we can make to impact each other and impact the world. And that is the framework for the 6 breakouts we're going to do. We've got lots of white space between the breakouts, as you know. You've got the agenda in your books. You know where you're supposed to be. One of them will be here, one of them will be over there. But as we go through them, I just want you to be thinking about the idea of getting mad. So we have about a 32-minute break with coffee, donuts, tacos, sushi, all sorts of good things. And then one break it'll be here, one break it'll be there. If you need directions, we've got lots of people to help you, but we'll see you back in about 30 minutes.